The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excited voices. Aliens from dozens of worlds filled the massive chamber, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. At the center sat the Council's most important members, beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Minjun Park stood quietly in the human section, a small area near the back of the hall. He wore simple clothes and kept his hands folded behind his back. To anyone watching, he looked like a farmer who had never left his home planet. The other species barely noticed him. "Today marks a wonderful day," announced Zephyra, the tall blue Altarian who led the council. Her voice echoed through the hall. "We welcome our newest members, the humans of Earth, into our great community." Scattered applause filled the air, though most of it sounded polite rather than excited. Minjun smiled and bowed slightly. He had practiced this humble gesture many times. "Such a peaceful species," whispered General Krex, a massive reptilian Vorthok with scars covering his green skin. He sat in the military section, surrounded by other war leaders. They grow food and make simple tools. How did they even reach space? Other aliens nodded in agreement. The humans had arrived in basic ships that looked like cargo containers with engines attached. Their technology seemed hundreds of years behind the rest of the galaxy. Most council members thought Earth would provide cheap food, and maybe some manual workers. Minjun listened to every word. His translator device picked up conversations from across the hall. He heard the Christine delegates laughing about human primitive computers. The gas-based nebulae spoke about using Earth as a vacation spot. The warrior Grimm clan discussed how easily they could conquer the human homeworld if needed. He wrote nothing down, but his mind recorded every detail. Minjun had spent 30 years in Earth's military before becoming a diplomat. He knew how to gather information without anyone noticing. "Ambassador Park," Zephyra called out, her voice warm and friendly. "Would you like to share something about your people?" Minjun walked slowly to the speaking platform. His movements seemed awkward, like someone not used to formal events. "Thank you, honored speaker," he said in careful, simple words. "We are happy to be here. Humans want to learn from the great civilizations around us. We hope to trade our food for knowledge." More polite applause followed. Several aliens smiled in the way adults smile at children who say something cute. "Very nice," Zephyra said. "Earth will find its place in our community. Perhaps growing crops for our military fleets, or Earth will find 10. A loud alarm suddenly filled the hall. Red lights flashed everywhere. The cheerful atmosphere disappeared instantly, as beings jumped to their feet in panic. "Emergency transmission incoming," announced the Council's communication officer, a spider-like creature with multiple eyes. "It's from the Outer Rim defense stations." The main screen activated, showing a trembling Aquarian commander. His blue skin had turned pale with fear. Behind him, explosions lit up space as ships burned and died. "The Devourers have broken through," he shouted over the noise of battle. "They came out of dark space with thousands of ships. Our defenses, they're gone! The entire 7th Fleet is destroyed!" Silence fell over the hall like a heavy blanket. The Devourers were the galaxy's greatest nightmare. A race of machines that consumed everything in their path. They had appeared centuries ago from beyond known space, eating entire star systems and turning them into fuel for their endless expansion. "How many?" General Krex demanded, his voice tight with worry. "We don't know," the Aquarian replied. "They keep coming. Sensors can't count them all. They've already taken the coreless system and are moving toward the core worlds. At this speed, they'll reach the Council territories in days." The transmission cut off, leaving only static. The hall erupted in panicked voices as aliens shouted orders, made desperate calls to their homeworlds, and argued about battle plans. Minjun remained calm. He pulled out a simple communication device that looked like a basic radio. Other species used advanced neural links and quantum transmitters, so nobody paid attention to his old-fashioned equipment. "Ambassador Park," Zephyra said, her voice shaking slightly. "You should contact your government immediately. Earth must prepare its defenses, though." She paused, not wanting to be rude. "Though what, honored speaker?" Minjun asked politely. "Your planet has limited military capability," General Krek said bluntly. "The Devourers destroyed the Christine Empire in 3 days. The Christines had weapons that could crack moons. Your people have farming ships and cargo haulers." Minjun nodded thoughtfully. "You are right." "Of course," Zephyra agreed quickly. "Use the Council's emergency channels. Every world must prepare however they can." "Thank you, but this will work fine," Minjun said, holding up his simple radio. "My people prefer basic methods." He activated the device and spoke in clear, calm words. "Control. This is Garden 1. The harvest moon has risen early. The garden needs tending. Repeat, the garden needs tending." The message lasted only seconds. Minjun turned off the radio and put it away. "That's all?" General Krex asked, confused. "No battle plans? No evacuation orders? My leaders will understand." Minjun replied, with the same humble smile he had worn all day. Around them, the council descended into chaos. Military commanders screamed orders while politicians argued about surrender terms. Some species announced they were fleeing to distant galaxies. Others spoke of hiding in deep space until the storm passed. Through it all, Minjun Park stood quietly, watching everything with calm eyes. He looked like a simple farmer, caught in events beyond his understanding. But deep in those eyes, something else flickered. Something patient and calculating and very, very dangerous. The message had been sent. Now Earth would respond, and the galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was. Deep inside the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Lee Sujin received the coded transmission. She sat in the command center of Fortress Alpha, a massive base built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at control stations that hummed with advanced technology. "Message confirmed," reported Lieutenant Commander Park Jin-woo from the communications station. "Garden 1 requests immediate tending. Authorization code matches." Lee Soo-jin closed her eyes for a moment. They had prepared for this day for 27 years, ever since humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. She had hoped it would never come. "Send activation codes to all stations," she ordered. "Begin Phase 1 deployment. Wake up the fleet." Across the solar system, hidden bases came alive. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened in what looked like empty craters. Inside Ceres Station, thousands of ships that had been disguised as mining equipment powered up their true systems. Even on Earth itself, underground facilities started moving toward the surface. Dr. Kim Hee-won rushed into the command center, her lab coat still covered with specimen samples. She had been studying Devourer remains for years, pieces recovered from ancient battlefields at the galaxy's edge. "Admiral," she said breathlessly, "my team has finished the weapon modifications. The electromagnetic pulse generators are ready for deployment. Our tests show they can disrupt Devourer neural networks at the quantum level." "Good work, Doctor," Lee replied. "All of them," Kim smiled. "We've been installing the systems for 3 years. Every vessel in the hidden fleet carries the new weapons." Captain Yang Dong-hyuk entered next, his pilot's uniform sharp and clean despite coming from combat training. Behind him walked the commanders of Elite Squadron 7, humanity's best fighter pilots. "Admiral," Yang reported, "all squadrons are ready for immediate deployment. We've completed final training on captured alien technology. Our pilots know how to fight every species in the galaxy. Over one. This was humanity's greatest secret. While the rest of the galaxy saw them as peaceful farmers, Earth had been preparing for war since first contact. They had learned quickly that space was dangerous, filled with ancient conflicts and terrible threats. So, They had done what humans always did when facing something bigger and stronger than themselves. They had planned. Every agricultural ship that left Earth carried hidden sensors and communication equipment. Every trade mission included intelligence officers who studied alien technology and military tactics. Every peaceful diplomatic meeting was really a chance to map enemy capabilities and find weaknesses. The asteroid belt had become the largest shipyard in galactic history. Using advanced mining robots as cover, human engineers had built vessels that combined the best technology from dozens of species. They had stolen designs, improved on them, and created something new. "Status report," Admiral Lee commanded. "Titan base reports ready," came the first response. 12 Dreadnought-class vessels armed and powered. Europa Station confirms ready status. 36 destroyer escorts ready for launch. Mars, underground reports all fighter squadrons prepared for immediate deployment. One by one, the hidden bases reported in. The numbers were staggering. Over 800 major combat vessels, 3,000 fighters, and support craft. Weapons and technology that no one in the galaxy knew existed. "Admiral," Dr. Kim said quietly, "are you sure about this? Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we really are." Lee Soo-jin looked at the tactical displays surrounding her command chair. Red dots showed the Devourer advance, already 3 star systems closer to populated worlds. Blue dots marked the retreating Galactic Council forces, falling back in panic. "Doctor," she said finally, "do you remember why we started this project?" Kim nodded slowly. "The Altarian histories. The records of previous Devourer attacks. 47 civilizations," Lee continued. "Each one thought they were prepared. Each one believed their technology and experience would save them. All of them died." Lee himself. The Admiral stood and walked to the main tactical display. It showed the current battle, with Council forces being systematically destroyed by the advancing swarm. "The galaxy has forgotten how to really fight," she said. "They've become comfortable, soft. They play at war like it's a game with rules and honor. The Devourers don't play games." Captain Yang stepped forward. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Lee Soo-jin took a deep breath. Around her, the command center waited in absolute silence. Outside, the hidden fleet of humanity prepared to emerge from shadows they had hidden in for nearly 3 decades. "Signal all stations," she said clearly. "Execute Operation Garden Shield. Deploy the full fleet to predetermined coordinates around Nexus Prime. We're going to show the galaxy what humans can do when someone threatens our garden." Warning lights flashed throughout the command center. Across the solar system, massive ships began moving toward jump points. The vessels were sleek and deadly, built for maximum efficiency rather than impressive appearance. They carried weapons designed specifically to fight Devourers, based on decades of secret research. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Park reported, "we're receiving surrender broadcasts from multiple Council species. The Nexarian Empire is evacuating their core worlds. The Vorthak Military Command is retreating to deep space. Let them run," Lee replied coldly. "We'll clean up their mess." Dr. Kim activated her personal communicator, sending signals to research teams hidden throughout human space. "All science vessels, begin final equipment checks. Remember, this isn't just about winning. We need to capture Devourer technology intact for study. Squadron leaders, report to your ships," Captain Yang ordered. "Standard formation protocols. Watch for civilian vessels and protect them. Our job is to end this threat, not become a new one." Admiral Lee Soo-jin sat back down in her command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. Hundreds of ship captains, thousands of crew members, and millions of support personnel across the solar system heard her voice. "This is Admiral Lee. Today we stop hiding. Today we show the galaxy that humanity stands guard over all who cannot protect themselves. The Devourers think they're facing the same soft targets they've always consumed. They're wrong. She paused, looking at the tactical display one more time. Soon, those empty spaces would fill with human ships. All vessels, begin jump sequence. Let's go tend our garden. The sky above Nexus Prime was about to change forever. The space above Nexus Prime had become a graveyard. Broken pieces of once mighty warships drifted through the void, their metal hulls torn apart by Devourer weapons. The combined fleet of the Galactic Council. Thousands of ships that had seemed so powerful just hours before, was being systematically destroyed. In the council chambers, panic ruled everything. Aliens ran through the halls, carrying important documents or personal belongings as they rushed toward escape ships. The great civilization that had controlled the galaxy for millennia was collapsing in real time. Minjun Park stood at the main viewing window, watching the battle rage overhead. His hands remained clasped behind his back, and his expression stayed calm. Around him, council members shouted orders that no one followed and made desperate calls to their homeworlds. "Why aren't you running?" Zephyra demanded, rushing up to him. Her blue skin had turned pale with fear, and her elegant robes were wrinkled from constant movement. "The Devourers will be here soon. Your agricultural ships won't protect you." Minjun turned to look at her. For just a moment, something different flickered in his eyes. Something that made the Altarian leader step back without knowing why. "Where would we run to?" he asked simply. "This is where we belong." "Well, where would we belong?" General Krex stomped over, his massive form shaking the floor with each step. "Human, your species has no military experience. You'll die here for nothing. At least my people fight with honor before we fall." "Your people fight very well," Minjun agreed politely. "I've been watching your tactics. Very traditional. Very predictable." The Vorthak general's eyes narrowed. Something in the human's tone didn't match his humble words. Above them, another wave of council ships tried to break through the Devourer lines. The alien vessels moved in standard formations, using battle tactics that were thousands of years old. The Devourers, mechanical and calculating, cut through them like knives through paper. "It's over," whispered Commander Yilka, a floating jellyfish-like being from the aquatic worlds. "Nothing can stop them. They're too many. Too strong." Minjun checked his simple wrist device, a basic timepiece that looked ancient compared to the advanced chronometers everyone else wore. "Actually," he said quietly, "it should be starting right about now." "What should be starting?" Zephyra asked. Minjun pointed toward the empty space behind the battle. "That." At first, nothing happened. The Devourers continued their advance, their dark ships moving in perfect coordination. Council forces kept retreating, leaving debris and bodies in their wake. Then the sky began to tear. It started as tiny cracks in space itself, lines of silver light that appeared where nothing had been before. The cracks grew wider, spreading like fractures in glass. Through them, something massive began to emerge. "What is that?" General Krex demanded. The first ship to come through the rift was enormous, larger than any vessel in the Council fleet. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered with weapons that had never been seen before. Behind it came another, then another. Within minutes, hundreds of ships were pouring through multiple rifts across the battlefield. "Those aren't Council designs," Zephyra whispered. "I don't recognize that technology." The new ships moved with incredible precision, forming battle lines with mathematical perfection. They were built for function, not display. Every surface served a purpose. Every weapon had been placed for maximum efficiency. "Impossible," General Krex said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Who could build such a fleet? The Christines are gone. The ancient builders vanished long ago. Where did these come from?" Minjun smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "They came from a small blue planet where farmers grow food and make simple tools." The council leaders stared at him in shock. Human ships? Zephyra said weakly. But your technology is exactly what we wanted you to think it was, Minjun replied. His voice had changed, becoming sharper and more confident. We learned long ago that sometimes the best weapon is being underestimated. The largest human vessel, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the biggest council ships, moved toward the Devourer fleet. Its hull bore simple markings: indomitable spirit. On its bridge, Admiral Li Sujin watched the enemy formation through her tactical displays. Beside her, Captain Yang prepared his fighter squadrons for launch. All ships, this is Admiral Li, her voice echoed across the human fleet. The garden is under attack. Time to show these machines what happens when they threaten our flowers. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a new sun. Devourer energy weapons, which had torn through council shields like they were made of paper, struck the human vessels and simply stopped. The energy dissipated harmlessly across specially designed hull plating. In return, the human ships fired weapons the galaxy had never seen. Streams of coherent electromagnetic energy that bypassed physical armor entirely, striking directly at the Devourer's quantum processing cores. For the first time in centuries, Devourer ships began to explode. How? General Krex whispered, watching the impossible sight. How are they doing this? Minjun walked closer to the viewing window. We studied you, General. We studied all of you. Every species, every technology, every battle tactic. While you saw us as harmless farmers, we were learning everything we could about how to protect ourselves and others. More human ships emerged from the rifts. Fighter craft that moved like living things. Bombers that appeared from nowhere to strike and vanish. Support vessels that immediately began rescuing damaged council ships. The electromagnetic pulse weapons, Dr. Kim Hee-won's voice came through Admiral Li's communicator. They're working perfectly. Devourer neural networks are shutting down across their entire formation. Captain Yang led the first fighter wave through the enemy lines. His pilots flew with impossible skill, dodging weapons that should have been undodgeable, striking targets that should have been unhittable. Squadron 7 to Admiral Li, Yang reported. Enemy formation is breaking apart. They can't adapt to our tactics fast enough. The Devourers, unstoppable for countless centuries, began something they had never done before. They started to retreat. This isn't possible, Zephyra said, her voice filled with awe and fear. The Devourers have never been defeated. Never even slowed down. How could humans? Because, Minjun said quietly, we didn't just prepare to fight them, we prepared to win. In space above them, the tide of battle turned completely. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, each vessel knowing exactly where every other ship would be. They surrounded damaged council vessels, protecting them while simultaneously destroying Devourer attackers. You've been hiding all this, General Krex said, understanding finally dawning in his ancient eyes. For years, decades, while we thought you were weak, we were becoming strong, Minjun finished. Not for conquest, not for glory, but so that when this day came, we would be ready to protect everyone who couldn't protect themselves. The battle was no longer even close. Human technology, built specifically to counter Devourer weapons, proved completely superior. One by one, the dark ships that had terrorized the galaxy began to fall silent. Ambassador Park, Zephyra said formally, I believe the Council needs to have a very different conversation with humanity. Minjun nodded politely. After we finish tending the garden, honored speaker. After we finish tending the garden. Non. Captain Yang Dong-hyuk dove his fighter through a cloud of debris, his targeting computer locking onto 3 Devourer interceptors. Behind him, Squadron 7 followed in perfect formation, their ships moving like they shared a single mind. Remember, Yang's calm voice reached every pilot in his unit. These machines learn from each engagement. Don't repeat the same attack pattern twice. His fighter rolled left, avoiding enemy fire by mere inches, then fired a burst of electromagnetic pulses that fried the lead devourer's control systems. The enemy ship tumbled helplessly through space before exploding. How are they doing that? General Krex demanded from the council chambers. He watched human fighters perform maneuvers that should have been impossible. Those are basic atmospheric craft. They shouldn't be able to move like that in space. Minjun smiled patiently. They're not basic craft, General. And our pilots have been training in space combat for 25 years. On her command ship, Dr. Kim Hae-won monitored the battle from a different perspective. Her screens showed the electromagnetic patterns flowing through the Devourer fleet as their quantum communication networks began to fail. Admiral Lee, she reported excitedly. The pulse weapons are working better than expected. We're not just disrupting individual ships. We're breaking down their entire hive coordination system. The Devourers had always fought as a single, massive organism, each ship connected to every other through quantum links. This allowed them to coordinate attacks with perfect timing and adapt to enemy tactics instantly. But human weapons targeted those very connections, turning the swarm's greatest strength into a weakness. Admiral Lee Sujin watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Continue targeting their command nodes. Force them to fight as individuals instead of a group. Around the battlefield, human ships demonstrated capabilities that amazed even their enemies. Vessels that had appeared through space rifts now revealed their true nature. What looked like transport ships extended massive weapon arrays. Agricultural freighters opened their cargo bays to launch squadrons of fighters. Even the smallest human craft carried technology years ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. Impossible, whispered Commander Yilka, the jellyfish-like being floating near the council chamber windows. Where did they get such advanced ships? We built them, Minjun said simply. Every year, for the past 3 decades, we've taken the best ideas from every species and made them better. General Krex turned to stare at the human ambassador. You stole our technology? We studied it, Minjun corrected gently. Every trade mission, every diplomatic meeting, every time someone showed us their superior equipment, we learned from all of you. Then we improved on what we learned. This was the truth the galaxy had never suspected. While alien species had become comfortable with their ancient technologies, humanity had combined and enhanced every innovation they encountered. Vorthak armor plating improved with crystalline energy distribution. Altarian sensors enhanced with aquatic computation systems. Nebulae propulsion merged with ancient builder hull designs. Captain Yang led his squadron through another attack run, this time targeting a massive Devourer battleship. The enemy vessel tried to adapt to their previous tactics, adjusting its defenses accordingly. But Yang had expected this. Switch to pattern Gamma 7, he ordered. Full randomization protocol. The human fighters suddenly broke formation, each craft moving in completely unpredictable patterns. The Devourers targeting computers, designed to predict enemy movements, couldn't calculate where any ship would be next. Yang's pilots struck from every direction at once, their attacks coordinated despite appearing chaotic. Pattern Gamma 7? General Krex asked, confused by the tactical terminology. Something we learned from studying Earth insects, Minjun explained. Swarm behavior that looks random, but follows deeper mathematical rules. The Devourers can't predict it because it's based on biological patterns instead of military logic. The massive Devourer battleship shuddered under the coordinated assault. Its weapons fired wildly, unable to track targets that moved like living creatures rather than machines. Within minutes, its hull split open, and atmosphere vented into space. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human vessels rescued council ships while simultaneously destroying their attackers. Medical frigates, disguised as cargo haulers, moved between damaged alien vessels, providing emergency aid and evacuating wounded crew members. They're protecting everyone, Zephyra observed, watching human ships shield a damaged Altarian cruiser from enemy fire. Even while fighting, they're trying to save lives. Dr. Kim's voice crackled through the communication system. Admiral, we're reading massive power buildups in the Devourer mothership. I think they're preparing some kind of final attack. Admiral Lee studied her tactical display. The enemy's largest vessel, a kilometers-long monster that served as their command center, was indeed gathering energy. Previous battles had shown that when Devourers faced total defeat, they often tried to destroy everything around them in a final explosion. All ships, prepare for emergency dispersal, she ordered. If that mothership detonates, the blast could damage every vessel in the system. But Captain Yang had a different idea. Admiral, request permission to attempt surgical strike. My squadron can reach the mothership's reactor core before it overloads. Negative, Captain. Too dangerous. We'll evacuate to safe distance. With respect, Admiral, Yang replied. There are 43 disabled Council ships within the blast radius. Evacuation will take too long. Some of them will die. Lee closed her eyes for a moment. This was humanity's greatest weakness and greatest strength. They couldn't stand by and watch others suffer, even when logic demanded it. Permission granted, she said quietly. Godspeed, Captain Yang. Yang's fighters screamed toward the Devourer mothership, their engines pushed beyond safe limits. Enemy weapons fired from every surface, creating a deadly web of energy beams. But the human pilots flew through the destruction like they were dancing, each ship following patterns that seemed impossible. Yang to all fighters, the captain said calmly as they approached the massive enemy vessel. Remember, we're not just fighting for humanity. We're fighting for every species that calls this galaxy home. The squadron reached the mothership's hull and began their attack on its reactor core. Electromagnetic pulses, designed specifically for this moment, penetrated the enemy's heaviest armor. Deep inside the alien vessel, quantum computers began to shut down one by one. Reactor core destabilizing, Dr. Kim reported. But it's controlled destabilization. The ship is dying, not exploding. The Devourer mothership, master of 1,000 conquered worlds, slowly went dark. Its weapons stopped firing. Its engines fell silent. The quantum links that connected it to every other Devourer vessel went dead. Across the battlefield, the remaining enemy ships stopped moving. Without their central command, they became nothing more than empty metal shells drifting through space. It's over, Admiral Lee announced to the fleet. The Devourer threat is ended. In the council chambers, absolute silence fell as alien leaders tried to understand what they had witnessed. The unstoppable enemy that had haunted galactic nightmares for centuries had been defeated by a species they had considered harmless farmers. How long, General Krex asked finally, how long have you been capable of this? Min Jun looked out at the human fleet, now moving to assist damaged ships and collect Devourer technology for study. We've been capable of defending ourselves for many years, he said honestly. But today was the first time we needed to defend everyone else too. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. The panicked crowds were gone, replaced by carefully organized delegations from every major species. Representatives who had fled during the crisis now returned, eager to understand what had happened. Min Jun Park sat in the same humble chair he had occupied before, but now every eye in the hall focused on him. He still wore simple clothes and kept his hands folded politely, but no one made the mistake of thinking he was powerless. Admiral Lee Sujin stood beside him, her military uniform clean and pressed despite 3 days of coordinating rescue operations. Behind them, Captain Yang and Dr. Kim represented the thousands of humans who had revealed themselves as the galaxy's hidden guardians. The Council recognizes Ambassador Park of Earth, Zephyra announced formally. Her voice carried new respect that hadn't been there before. Min Jun rose slowly and walked to the speaking platform. Around him, Beings who had once ignored his presence now listened to every word with complete attention. "Honored Council," he began, his voice carrying the same gentle tone as always. "We need to discuss what happens next." General Krex leaned forward in his seat. The massive Vorthak warrior bore new scars from the battle, wounds earned while fighting beside human ships to protect refugee vessels. "First," Krex said bluntly, "we need to understand what you really are. Your technology is decades ahead of ours. Your military coordination is perfect. How long have you been hiding this capability? Thank you for watching." End quote. Krex said, "Well, on the next order." "We haven't been hiding anything," Minjun replied calmly. "We simply haven't advertised it. There's a difference." Dr. Kim activated a holographic display showing the solar system. What had once appeared to be empty space now revealed the truth. Massive stations, hidden shipyards, and defensive platforms that had been invisible to galactic sensors. "For 27 years, she explained, humanity has been preparing for threats like the Devourers. We studied every major conflict in galactic history. We identified the patterns that led to civilization collapse. Then we built countermeasures. The hologram shifted to show human ships during the recent battle, but now it revealed their true nature. Agricultural vessels that had carried weapons, cargo ships that had launched fighter squadrons, even diplomatic transports that had deployed advanced sensor networks. Every human ship that left Earth carried dual purposes," Admiral Lee said. "We traded, we explored, we made friends, but we also gathered intelligence and positioned defensive assets throughout the galaxy." Commander Yilka floated closer to the display. "You've been protecting us without our knowledge?" "In small ways," Minjun admitted. "Pirate attacks that mysteriously failed. Trade routes that stayed safe despite known dangers. Colony worlds that survived natural disasters better than expected. We couldn't stop everything, but we helped where we could." This revelation stunned the assembled delegates. For decades, they had attributed their good fortune to luck or superior planning. Now they learned that human ships had been quietly working to keep the galaxy stable and safe. "But why?" Zephyra asked. "Why protect species who ignored you or looked down on you?" Minjun was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Because that's what farmers do. We tend our gardens. We protect growing things from storms and pests. To us, the galaxy is a garden, and every species is something worth protecting." General Krex stood up, his massive form imposing even in the peaceful chamber. "You could have conquered us. Any time, in the last 20 years, you could have taken control of the Council by force. Why didn't you?" "Because conquest isn't gardening," Minjun said simply. "It's destruction. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help it grow." The truth of humanity's philosophy began to sink in. They had developed overwhelming military superiority, but only to serve as protectors. They had hidden their strength not from deception, but from humility. "What do you want now?" asked President Zhal Moore of the Merchant Federation. "What price do you demand for saving us?" Captain Yang stepped forward. "No price, but we do have requests." He activated another display showing damaged sectors where the Devourers had attacked. "First, we want permission to establish permanent defense stations at strategic points throughout the galaxy, not to control trade routes, but to respond quickly to future threats. Second," Dr. Kim continued, "we want to share our anti-devourer technology with every species. The electromagnetic pulse weapons, the quantum disruption systems, even our ship designs. Everyone should have the ability to defend themselves." Third, Admiral Lee added, "we propose the creation of a joint defense force, not to replace any species' military, but to coordinate responses to galactic-level threats. Humans would provide command structure and advanced technology, but every species would contribute according to their abilities." The council delegates looked at each other in amazement. Humanity was offering to give away their greatest advantages freely, asking only for cooperation in return. "You're serious about this?" General Krex asked. "You'll share technology that could make any species as powerful as you are?" "Power isn't the point," Minjun said. "Protection is. A garden where only one plant grows strong isn't really a garden at all." Zephyra stood up slowly. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize for our misunderstanding of humanity's true nature. We see now that we judged you based on appearances rather than character." "No apology needed," Minjun replied with a gentle smile. "Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is learning from them." "I have a question," Commander Yilka said thoughtfully. "What if we refuse these proposals? What if some species don't want human protection or technology sharing?" Minjun's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Then, we respect their choice. But we'll continue doing what we've always done. Quietly helping where we can, protecting those who can't protect themselves, and maintaining the garden." The implications were clear, without being threatening. Humanity would continue their guardianship, whether officially recognized or not. They had operated in secret for decades. They could do so again, if necessary. "I propose a vote," Zephyra announced. "All in favor of accepting humanity's proposals for joint defense and technology sharing?" Every hand, claw, tentacle, and appendage in the hall rose in agreement. "Motion carried unanimously," Zephyra declared. "Welcome to your new role in the galactic community, humanity. Though I suspect you were already playing it long before we noticed." 6 months later, human defense stations monitored the galaxy's borders, while joint task forces patrolled trade routes. Human technology helped dozens of species upgrade their defensive capabilities, and in a quiet corner of the council chambers, Minjun Park still sat in simple clothes, taking notes and making sure the garden continued to grow. The galaxy had learned what humanity really was. Not conquerors or rulers, but gardeners who happened to be very, very good at protecting their crops. And everyone slept safer knowing that somewhere in the dark between stars, human ships kept watch over the endless garden of civilization.